Welcome everybody back to another Boldcast reaction. I'm Lindsay.
I'm Carson.
And today we will be reacting to The Promised Neverland Season 2, Episode 2. What happened last time?
Last time we were out, we were running through the forest, we were getting chased, and then we got picked up by what turned out to be some demons, some rebels against the cause of farming children for food and profit. So we're gonna see, do they have their own gain for this? What are their reasons for opposing the status quo? And hopefully the kids weren't cooked into that meal that was just prepared.
Yeah.
And
the food's ready.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna see what happens there, and I'm really excited.
And with that, we would like to ask you to support the official release. We're watching on Funimation. We assume you've already watched the show before coming here to see our reaction and our review. That's the content we provide. We would also ask you to please like and subscribe if you like this video. And also, just wanting to let people know, in case you are watching our Season 1 reactions, we have finished watching Season 1. Don't worry about that. And the episodes are still going up for that. So if you haven't seen our Season 1 reactions and would like to, go and check those out. Let's get into it. The Promised Neverland Season 2, Episode 2. This is really good and really interesting OP, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I love that the sign of anyone in anything living in the forest is that they have a random braid on like the side of their head. Yeah. In any series ever.
Does that mean you're a forest person because you wear braids all the time?
No, because it has to be just one, not a practical
it's a
braid.
Single braid.
It's like a braid
you're
that doesn't really do anything. Okay.
There's probably a reason for that. Oh.
I'm glad they're having the same reaction as everyone else.
He's just like, what? What's the confusion here? We saved you. She's acting all like creepy as shit.
Demons, eh?
By whom? Whom called you demons before? Subtle foreshadowing.
That horse thing is really cool.
It is really fucking cool. I'm surprised it's not like conscious. Oh, so are those masks?
I don't know.
Like maybe they're status symbols because he had like a full face covering. And now he doesn't. Prayer. Oh, they like bow with it? That's pretty cool. What is this food? Is it good?
Yeah,
oh shit,
really
it's
good.
tasty. It's the first meal they've had outside the wall. Let's talk. Lay it all out on the table. Who the fuck are you? Tell us everything you know. They have to have, like, we're about to get a huge lore dump, and I can't wait.
Religious reasons.
They're radicals.
But only humans.
But that's conflicting with what
Yeah, I know.
Crone told us.
But did she really know?
何も起きていない。30年という数字がどこから出てきたかは知らんが、世界はもうずっと
That's what I figured.
Or are they still on Earth, but
Yeah,
it's
this
just
is exactly
changed?
what I said last episode.
いや、ここは地球で
Yeah.
今は紛れもなく
What the fuck happened to Earth?
人間一つ昔話をしよう。
Okay,
Ooh,
here we
alright,
go.
alright, okay, okay,
An
okay.
old tale.
かつて世界は今よりずっと広く鬼はあまたいる人間を狩りくらい暮らしていた。
Oh, so it's like an alternate history type thing.
鬼を恐れひれ伏す人間に狩り殺す人間がいた。よりも多くの鬼を殺し、鬼もまた人間を憎むようにな。果てのない恐怖。互いに嫌気がさした子、人間側から一つの提案が持ち出された。約束を交わそう。人間は鬼を狩り、鬼も人間を狩らない。お互い世界を住み分けよう。すべての始まりはこの約束だ。これにより世界は二つに切り分けられ断絶した。ここはその時分かれた鬼側の世界。ついでに言えば、お前たち食用時に行かれた土産ってわけだ。
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
kind
it's
of like
segregated. Yeah, we guessed this. We said it was like a tax.
Yeah.
約束からおよそ1000年。
1,000 years.
ほぼ変わらない。
Damn. So yeah, big alternate history.
Yeah.
Big alternate history. That means there's somewhere to escape to.
Yeah.
They can get the fuck out and go somewhere. It's way better than they thought.
Rather than...
Except...
Oh, did they all go extinct or some shit? Oh, no.
Yeah, they're you guys are like tagged property of the other land.
いや、そう聞いただけだ。
でもあるんだろう、人間の世界は。大丈夫、見つけるから。
It's gonna be difficult for them to be like, oh yeah, let's take you kids in, you livestock that are the property of our enemies.
明日からはこの森の抜け道を教えよう。出口まで無事送る。
So fast.
Are we gonna get more help? I have a feeling it's not just gonna be over. Oh shit, the hunters.
Uh-oh. It's nice that they have an underground path.
He connected the tunnels? Yeah, only you guys know the way, but they can smell. I love they're like kids on a school trip. Oh, the Promised Neverland.
Yeah, not at all.
Gracefield. Yeah, that's the problem. They have to fucking wait for the others to grow up.
Yeah.
Or like a year, I guess they were saying, right?
They were thinking like 2 years or something. I don't
Because
remember.
if the oldest were like 5 and they get harvested the earliest at 6, and if they
Except
want nobody
Phil,
to die,
Phil
was
the
super smart.
oldest, and they would save him till he was as old as possible. Was the theory?
Right? Yeah. But meaning they can't cross until they get everyone else.
もう一度脱獄だ。
俺とムジカで教えよう。この外の世界を生き抜き、最低限の知識と。
That's so sick.
Why they look so like sneaky?
Yeah. Communication is key.
Just call
Yeah, even the horse.
Oh.
死なない。そうよ。気が気じゃなかった。エマとレイが俺たちのこと心配してくれるように心配したんだよ。ああ、ドンとギルダも泣きそうだった。助けがいるならそう言って。だから自分も
That was the whole point of what Emma wanted in the first
Yeah.
place.
大切な家族なのよ。私たちだから。お願い。ありがとう。ごめんね。ごめんねみんな。
They're really cool. And I like that they're in 3D, because then we get to see them more. How did you learn how to cook? I guess they just taught them everything. Like,
they
they literally. How did
teaching
you learn? Well, what? Dumplings. Mujika's so nice. I want her around more.
I know, they're like, we'll just take you outside and then you can leave. And I'm like, just.
No! You're our friends now. You're our family too now. That's how it works. This is really nice.
And there's so many of them, so they can all
Dog
learn different
pile.
skills.
You like how, like, I'm just noticing how many more kids look exactly like Norman. There's like 3 kids who look like Norman. Like, I wonder if that's on purpose to make us think of it?
Maybe.
To like remind us? I don't know.
I kept thinking that too, actually.
It was just like, there's the girl who looks like Norman, there's the guy who like has Norman's hair kind of, except with the little without the little swirl on the side. Ooh, threaded. Oh, that's sick. Katniss Everdeen.
Damn. Well, she was always the athletic one.
That's true. That's true. It makes perfect sense.
私も連れて行って外の世界を見ておきたい。
わかった。だが絶対に俺とこいつから離れるな。
Nice. That's smart. Smart. It's a big risk, but it's smart because if there are people out here, then this looks like a battlefield. Like with the
river
creek.
where someone dies in and gets swept away or some shit.
Yeah, you see the blood get washed away in the creek. Oh, but the creek's good because it washes away your scent. It's more difficult to smell you when you cross it.
教えてほしくて。
何よ。
How to kill?
生き物の殺し。
Yeah.
この数日教えてもらったの知識、薬草の知識。
But you're gonna need meat if you're gonna survive in the wild.
でも、生き物を取ってない。二人とお別れする前にちゃんとできる肉も魚も野菜も果物も食べ物はこの先ちゃんと。
Well, you're talking to the right guy. If this dude's like a druid type dude.
動物を教えてください。
Oh, this is so cool. It's gonna be sad. You're gonna cry. You're already crying. But it's the weird little turkey bird. Oh, she can't do it. She can't do it. We're vegetarians out here.
戦わなく仲間もお前自身も
You can do it, Emma. I know it fucking sucks. And it kind of feels against everything. The flowers. They're blooming. That
Is it
means
'cause
there's
they're in the
blood.
water?
Oh, maybe. Maybe it's just moisture.
次はグプナだ。
グプナ？
Gupna?
それ。
Yeah, let's
Gupna. We have a name.
植物だ。
Vampiric plant. Does it bleed it?
神に勝てを鬼が受け取ったら花が開く。
The gods
そ
accept.
したらその肉は食べてみる。
Oh, so it's like
みんな肉の方が
really
これは血抜きをかやると肉が長く持つ。
dual
Interesting.
purpose.
そうでなきゃ血抜きになる。
That's kind of fucked. That's really fucked. Imagine like how cold, like
食べられたくない。生きたい。でも私たちだって食べてきた。この先も食べなければ生きていけない。
I hope Emma knows that what she's doing is not the same as what happened to them. 'Cause what? Oh, she's remembering Connie.
花、妹の胸にも刺さってた。
見たことがあったのか。
そっか、この花、生きてるうちに。コニー、ハオ、セリ、 してないといいな。
ルプナは神への感謝だ。敬意なしには成立しない。の兄弟たちもきっと苦しい思いはしていないよ。
ありがとう、サンジ。
Damn, dude.
あ、何か変だよ。どうしたの？何かあったの？
Be honest.
なんでもないよ。
Fucking Emma.
大丈夫。
Emma, you're losing it, man.
You're going down the classic protagonist
Yeah,
path
of
of bottling
suffering
everything
alone.
up inside.
You can't suffer alone. Can't suffer in silence. This ending is dope as shit, though. They mentioned Hao and Seti again, which really strengthens my theory that they're alive. But they mention only them for like 4 times now. Countless other kids have died that she's known, like, or at least like 30.
Yeah, but maybe
Everyone
she was really
she's known.
close with those ones.
Maybe. That's also a good point, but I feel like there's more credence now that they mentioned it again in the 2nd season. These people that we never saw. What an episode. What an episode.
So, confirmed my theory about the world and our theory about, like, what might have happened about...
One of our theories.
One of our... we had many theories, but I had been quite convinced that this was Earth, but just, like, a long time in the future with a different history occurring, where it, like, turned into, like, barely even Earth because of other influences.
Yeah.
And it seems like that's the case, but it's also more of a clear divide than that. It's not like, oh, there's pockets of humans that are allowed to remain in peace as if they offer up this tribute. It was like, no, like, literally 1,000 years ago, they just ditched some people and took off somewhere else.
Yeah, so, but here's the thing to consider is, was it, like, demons were around before 1,000, that deal was made 1,000 years ago, but, like, basically what happened was this is not Earth as we know it. This was never this is basically another planet. The fact that there's all these organisms, these didn't spring up over the last 1,000 years. This is basically a different world. Although the world map was the same. So what I'm curious about, it was the same.
It had like a different names on some things, I think.
Oh, I think that those were just maybe the Japanese translated to English what they call the different continents and stuff, or the different parts of the world. Maybe I'm wrong. That's my guess. I actually don't know. But yeah, there were different names, but as far as the structure of the planet, the continents, if we're to believe that world map, are the same. But there's so much about the world that is so different, and there's stuff that's the same, but like every animal and organism that we've seen that's not human has been either dead, like dead meat, which looks like pork or beef or whatever they were eating in there.
And
it
they
looks
had
like
rabbits
normal food.
on the plates in the intro, and she just killed like a turkey vulture or something.
Yeah, maybe those are imported from like the human side of the world, because
or they're still just there because we still don't know how the demons got here in the first place.
That's what I was getting at. Are they like organic beings, or are they spiritual beings, being like seeing that even the farmers have such a connection to nature in that they still do the practice of like praying over their kills even when they're farmed and offering it up as a sacrifice in their way. The fact, like, maybe they are something closer, more akin to demons or some sort of spirit, rather than physical. Yeah, or well, it's hard to say because it must have been thousands of years before the deal was made that they showed up, and this.
It's also interesting, like, to think about it. Say they weren't from Earth, like they weren't a naturally occurring thing here in this alternate timeline, but they still have like God or like gods. Like, I wonder, because like Earth has like so many different religions and stuff, like. And if they did come from somewhere else, like, did they bring that with them, or was that
they
like
adopt that
was
when they
that
came
or
here?
did they adopt it from humans, or did they adopt it because they could feel the presence of something on this planet?
Yeah, maybe.
Or if they were from the planet, like did they arise from something that like they have their own like way that they came into being? Because it seemed like humans had kind of been there first, and then they were there.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's not what I got. That's not how I took it.
Well-
I read it. They didn't say that. They said that they
said at first there were plenty of humans and we could hunt them and capture
Yeah.
them and do whatever we
meaning
want.
at first we were hunting humans. Meaning at first, like we didn't come here. Well, maybe.
I took it as like
maybe.
the human world was heavily populated. They came in having a great feast all the time, and then the humans were like, "Oh shit, we're getting totally destroyed. Let's fight back."
Mm-hmm.
But by then there was like kind of, they were at like a almost equal playing field, where it would go one way then the other way, and it was just back and forth, and then the humans were like, "Okay, we're gonna get wiped out here if we don't do something."
I agree with basically all of that. The only thing that I heard, or I guess interpreted differently, was that they came from somewhere else and there were a lot of humans. I just thought that they maybe were a parallel species, evolved from maybe a different animal, if they are organic, then, and came from this world and weren't like planted here. Maybe that's another thing. Maybe it's Scientology stuff here, and they were planted here by, maybe everything was planted here by another higher being, and there's another higher game being played. I don't know. But if they are organic, then I was considering that they had evolved alongside and maybe were separate, and the world was densely populated with humans, and maybe in one small island or continent there was this tribe of demons that found its way to the mainland or whatever, and then was just an apex predator.
Yeah.
Unlike
Well, I
anything they've
think
seen.
that that's also possible, but I do, however, think that there must have been some sort of time that like they were separate, or perhaps humans didn't know about them
Yeah.
for what they were. Because like you have to imagine, like, if all of a sudden people found those, they would probably get rid of them or trap them. But they didn't talk about like, oh, we were enslaved to the humans for thousands of years and then decided to start eating them. It seemed like, oh, we found our prey that we
Yeah.
consumed. It wasn't like, oh, we like did this. It was like they were just animals and we enjoyed eating them, and then they didn't like that very much.
Well, it's hard. Yeah. It's I don't know. That makes it seem like, okay. So another thing I was considering was like, so the world as we know it is different enough that it might as well be a different world.
Yeah.
So that means that like just because the year is 2046 doesn't mean that it's 26 years ahead of this time, right? It's obviously not, because there's 1,000 years of a different progression. So how much else is different, and how much like maybe because I forget if what was his name, Sonju, if he said according to a human calendar it is 2046 or the human calendar. I forget the phrasing, but, and it might not matter because it's translation, so you can never quite tell unless you speak the original language. But if it's a human calendar and the world is so different, then maybe it's actually, then the calendar might not matter at all. Then it might be 5046. It might,
Yeah,
like,
is it
who
20?
knows?
Like, because they started counting 1,000 at a like not necessarily like random. They had their reasons, but there was thousands of years before that that we don't include in our calendar.
Yeah. Exactly.
So,
Yeah, exactly. So
who knows?
So it's all relative to when the calendar was established, and if the world is this different, then is Christianity still a thing? Like the Christian calendar, is that actually a thing? Because that's how we measure our time,
I think
largely speaking.
the way of like that I'm seeing it is like they have their home in their place was a similar style to like homes that you might see now in a way, like maybe slightly older with some elements of a more like I like,
it's hard to say, because
It's
like
hard-
how advanced is it? How advanced is it? Is it like some third world countries now, or like when the deal was struck? How advanced were they? Did they have guns? Was it like did they have the science that we have now and they were kind of taken back, and like there's no we still don't have any concept.
That's what I was wondering, because they have this house that looks like normal, or almost even on like the border of like an old-fashioned house, you know what I mean? But then they have this crazy computer technology where they can like swipe along the thing, and that might also come into play with just what like the materials that they had at the time, or
what do you mean? At
like
what time?
they've all been given these books that like sort of filled in the world for
we
them.
got the answer for that. We got the answer for that. That was all set dressing. We were told that. No, but I'm saying, just to finish my thought, the whole point of that whole look and aesthetic was that it was perfect breeding ground for the most stable, psychologically stable, and the healthiest development of humans.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I like it's interesting that they took specifically those things. So what I'm thinking of is that society must have gotten to the point where potentially those things existed, and then they handpicked what would make the best outcome for these kids, or whatever, potentially.
Yeah. So it must have been past that point. Yeah. So that does make sense. Maybe around the time the deal was struck, it was about modern time for us.
Yeah,
because
and then
they were able to look back over human history and like, when were people, based on research that we've done.
They take the best things that they think are the best things, and then they create this world.
Because that makes way more sense than like it was before that time. The deal was struck, everything was segregated and split, humans went off, technologically advanced to the point where like it's futuristic and stuff. And then the demons like watched them, took that stuff, then brought it over to theirs. That's possible, but it seems more complicated than just the humans were advanced more at the year 1000 whatever, and the deal was struck, and then the demons set up their own thing, their own system based on their own knowledge or research or whatever that was already made. Mm-hmm. That makes it seems clearer. It seems a clearer trajectory to get to where we are, how Gracefield could exist in the way that it
especially since they talk about like no one has ever crossed that border, and I doubt the humans and the demons are like literally like looking over at each other like,
I mean, it might be North and South Korea style where there's like a border that is
that's what I'm saying. I don't know if they could like necessarily like spy on each other, or not, like, because you're talking about like, oh, if then this happened and then they like were still watching them or whatever.
What? Oh,
like you were saying,
yeah.
That was less likely, and I'm saying it's even less likely because there's probably some separation there.
But we also have to understand that like Sonju and Majika, although they are incredibly nice, they have a biased perspective towards the society, and they haven't said anything too drastic. They've said like basic stuff. Like it doesn't seem like there's much of what they said that could be colored by their bias, but they clearly are biased, and they're living like a separation. A separation is like lifestyle. They
also were talking about like because of their religion, they don't eat humans. So I wonder like how many subsets of religion or how many people fall. Is it just them?
I imagine it's like Christianity.
Or
no, it's not just them, because they still use that. They still use the same ritual.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, are they following the like true religion of like, you don't do this, you don't like, different things. It's like you don't eat pork, or you don't drink alcohol. Even I think like like certain
Jews as well.
Certain religions have things that you don't do, but some people still follow that religion, but like don't follow certain rules. Christians know like premarital anything, but most people don't follow that part of it anymore.
Yeah,
because of that. So if they said no eating intelligent creatures or some shit, but then they're like,
they're tasty, so
fuck that shit. If they just decided, like certain people just decided, I'm going to not do that because it doesn't seem right under what the teachings of my. It's not like don't do this. It's they just thought their interpretation of what they should and should not do dictates that they should not eat humans.
Yeah, exactly.
To them. It's not necessarily a rule, it's like a part of their morals, perhaps.
Yeah, but like, you know, not everyone is super practicing of all of the teachings.
Yeah,
of their,
and not
if these
necessarily
are more,
everyone
like,
interprets it
fundamentalists.
in the same way. Like,
Yeah.
it says, oh, you must not do this or whatever, or like, you know, certain things, and they just interpreted that as, well, you know, to really truly uphold to that, I will not eat humans.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so maybe, yeah, they seem to be, well, I think that's kind of obvious because they're living out in the wilderness and vagabonds, so they definitely are a little bit more strict about their religious practices. But yeah, that is interesting. That I found that really interesting as well. Like, if that's their religious practice, to use these flowers and to like pray over the body or whatever, and to do this specific thing, it's interesting that not only do the nomadic druid people who are living separate for society do it, but also that a version of that is practiced by the farmers who practice the same thing but completely ignore the same restrictions.
But then it depends, because they said previously, like, you have to show respect to it, or if the food is like blessed, basically, then the flower will bloom and it's okay to eat.
Yeah.
So then there's that weird thing of like, okay, well, if humans weren't okay to eat, then would the flower bloom? Maybe not. Well, it's sort of that interesting thing, or is it just they believe that you have to show respect to it, and were the demons, when they did that to Connie, like, were they showing respect, or is that just what happens with the flower?
I think that it's,
you know?
I actually want to talk about this too when I was watching, because when that whole thing was being explained, it seems really realistic of a practice, and that's because normal religious practices like that, like the ones we've talked about, as far as like not eating pork, not eating beef, stuff like that, they have a function, they have a purpose in terms of survival. Like, in premarital sex, that has a purpose in terms of like keeping a social hierarchy and stuff like that. So it's justified in the religion as following the teachings of your god, or of your community, and the beliefs of your people. But the real root of it, it's practiced in that way and taught that way, but the real root of it was instilled and these practices were instilled in order to keep people alive and keep society thriving, and to be these sort of guiding principles that sort of propagate the society. So you, like, if you're in a, like, I'm trying to think of a good one, shellfish, like there's I forget if it's Christianity you can't eat shellfish. Is that one? I think that's like an older one. I think that's an older one. I could be mixing that up with, you can't like mix shellfish. I think you can't eat shellfish if you're following like fundamentalist Christianity. But correct me if I'm wrong. I know that there's stuff like this, but like all the different like eating restrictions, it's not that God doesn't want you to eat this animal necessarily. From a functional perspective, it's these animals carried a lot of diseases when these rules were put in place, probably, and they were just trying to keep people alive. So that's why this whole thing of praying over your thing makes sense, is that there's an ethic there. That's what it's about. And in terms of like creating these religious ideas, that's the function of it. It's and the fact that it's draining blood, that was the main thing. It's like you're using these to bleed the creature so that it's safer to eat.
Yeah.
From an evolutionary perspective, it develops into a sort of ritual, but it is more of a sort of, it has the function there that is, you can tell, is the basis of that. And then over time the sort of ethic evolved, then the moral evolved out of it. Unfortunately, the moral aren't being followed by the farmers, clearly, if this is like the true way, the true path of their religion. So that's really interesting that you can like justify your religious practices even if you're not following to the letter of the law, like the farmers are doing, like a lot of modern Christians and a lot of modern religious people who aren't fully practicing do, is they can live their life, practice, pray to their God, do whatever they want, and not follow all the specific rules, and still feel like they're in God's grace. And they probably are, because the reason for the restrictions, the function of those restrictions, is lost on your world because this restrictions aren't necessary anymore, so it can be justified in that way. That's what makes that thing seem really interesting, and I just wanted to talk about that because I thought it was really cool that it seemed really real, and is because of that.
Yeah, I was also gonna say it's if, like you say, like because the function is still there, but obviously the people at the farm, I didn't see them they had Connie in the back of a truck, like all fucked up, and then they just like were like, oh, let's eat her. No, let's not eat her. Let's throw her in this thing. And when Corone got killed, that was like a brutal death.
Yeah.
Not seemingly like out of.
Well, to be fair, it's just our perspective.
That's also true.
It's not just also true. That's like literally it. It's
I
like
guess.
Whether you're killing something and it's a human or not, it's feeling fear and like lashing out and wants to survive. So yeah, but yeah, I see what you mean. Though.
Yeah, but like in the incident with Corone specifically, it was used as a tool for sort of like revenge and murder, and getting someone out of the way, rather than with the kids where it's used for the food. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense, but
well, no, I don't think in that way. I think that for Grandmama, it was just business for her. I don't think that she really had well, maybe she did have an emotional interest, but she wasn't killing Corone out of that emotional interest, I think. Maybe she was. Maybe we don't actually know. But as far as like the demon who like stabbed her with it, that was just because now she's food. That was the whole point. So I
guess so, yeah.
I don't think that I think that was really loaded with emotion and gravitas for us because it was our perspective. But if you look at it from their perspective, maybe Grandma has some sort. I think maybe her emotion and motivation for that was derived from her interest and care that she's put into Isabella. But I don't think that killing Crone was like I don't think she took a lot of pleasure in that. I don't think she really cared. Crone was just another tool, another farm animal that had that its slaughter had come to pass. That was all that was. Especially for the demons, they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it is really interesting to see. I guess the whole point of this conversation is like it's interesting to see sort of the differences in
and we don't
ideology.
know the full story of
either
way.
We've seen one perspective. Well, we've kind of seen two perspectives now, so we can kind of get a clear picture, but we haven't heard we haven't heard a response from the farming community
and
yet.
Also when they're so these seemingly friendly demons are telling us the story that the story's 1,000 years old at this point. So who knows if, as time goes on with us watching the story, if we'll get more or conflicting information, or, like, because we don't know what's going on in the human world at all. They don't seem to, the average demon.
Well, they're not the average demon. That's the other thing.
I guess that's
my
true.
point. They're not the average demon. They're separatists. They're heretics. They are outcasts. So they don't maybe there are people, there are definitely, I think, demons who have a better idea of what's going on in the human world.
Mm-hmm. But I guess I'm wondering, like, how much is the perfect, pristine account of what happened and what is going on, like, how widely available is that knowledge and how many people are 100% caught up and educated on it? I think
we're meant to believe, this is my guess, this is my answer to that. I don't know if this is the answer to that, but my speculation is that that's about as caught up as the average person is. Mm-hmm. Someone who's separated from society, who isn't plugged into everything. They know that, and they obviously have a different perspective and, thoughts on the matter. But I think that must be common knowledge. It might have a different spin.
Well, I guess that's what I was saying. Like, I think that's the baseline, but there are people who know more.
Yeah.
And who those people are probably only the powerful people. Or specific people who really paid attention. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm ready to find all those answers, and I can't wait for next week. Hope you guys enjoyed the reaction and review to this episode of Promised Neverland. You can, again, if you made it this far, if you made us this far and you enjoyed this, we hope you leave a like, but you'll also enjoy our Season 1 reactions if you haven't seen those already. Those are still being released on our channel. And we hope you enjoyed most of all. Hope you leave a like and subscribe. I'm Carson.
I'm Lindsay.
Bye-bye.